Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so Andrew Callaghan of Channel 5 did an interview with Neal Brennan. So Andrew Callaghan is the guy who originally was doing All Gas, No Breaks, and then that had to become Channel 5 because there was another company that owned the original title. So he's been Channel 5 ever since, and he's kind of like a gonzo journalist. He goes out, he's got the goofy-looking brown suit, kind of Borat style, and he goes and does sort of awkward, very telling interviews with people because he kind of just lets them talk. And then it gradually evolved into something that was a little bit more news and politics focused, going to protests, going to rallies, going to political events, talking to people on the ground about why they support people like Donald Trump, why they're a part of groups like the Proud Boys or Antifa. And so he's been doing that work pretty consistently over the last several years. He got canceled over some allegations about his sexual conduct with various women as he was sort of moving through different party scenes. And in the midst of that, he seemed to have a couple encounters with people that ultimately amounted in them making accusations against him publicly that he pressured them and was just generally untoward and creepy. And there were a few different allegations like this that essentially came out immediately after he dropped a video with HBO. So he did an apology for it. He kind of disappeared for a while, went into AA, and then popped up again, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year later, dropping more Channel 5 content, and he kind of went right back to it. So ever since then, he has been continuing the platform of Channel 5, not addressing what happened with the cancellation too much, and I haven't seen that much buzz about it either, because it seemed to be relatively understood that he was just kind of getting back to work. So he did an interview on Neal Brennan's podcast, which is basically about like personal struggles, like things that hold you back or make you feel alone in the world. That's the concept of Neal Brennan's podcast. Pretty good. Neal Brennan's decent interviewer. He's prickly in a way that can be a little unlikable sometimes. But in this interview, I think he shows the usefulness of that, because even though he's a fan of Andrew Callaghan and his work, he also does prickle him a little bit about the cancellation, and they get into stuff like that, and he gets some interesting stuff out of Andrew. I think he's an interesting example of how to build an independent platform, what to do and what not to do, and that's a lot of what he gets into in this interview. So let's play some clips. I'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll move on to some of the news that's happening right now.
Well, I was more disappointed by watching the mainstream news cycle just totally pick apart and misinterpret what Hunter was saying.
In a more than 3-hour-long expletive-laden interview with podcaster Andrew Callaghan, Hunter Biden lashes out at Democrats who he says betrayed his father.
It's a 3.5-hour interview. We talked about addiction, so many different things. And the only thing that they really combed from it was him saying fuck George Clooney and him explaining the difference chemically between crack and powdered cocaine. That's all you saw. And they also focused on the profanity. It was such a trip. I'm sitting in Phoenix right after the adult baby gathering.
Of course.
I posted at 6 a.m. By 9 a.m., Ted Cruz, Nayib Bukele, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Sean Hannity, Jesse Waters, Matt Walsh, they're all reporting on just specifically the crack cocaine clip, and then their discourse is all shaming him for saying the F word.
Yeah,
they
even though Trump had just said it 3 weeks before.
Kellyanne Conway was like, this potty mouth punk needs to stop smoking crack. And it's funny because that's exactly what Hunter Biden told me would happen. I didn't believe him. I'm like, dude, we're sitting here for 3.5 hours. You're telling me they're going to take one specific thing from this and they're going to set the tone for the entire media cycle, both right and left? He said, because even
the left was
what
doing
they
it?
call liberal media, CNN, MSNBC, I would call it basically centrist media. They're all also talking about profane tirade. So it's funny because the tone gets set and everybody falls in line just out of ease, because these journalists are like, let's report about it in a way that's already being talked about.
Okay.
Once that goes away and you realize you can't really travel anonymously, which was my favorite thing to do ever.
Right.
You start to kind of wish you could go back. but it's not something that people are very sympathetic to because everybody wants to be famous. At least most people do, especially nowadays. You ask my grandparents' generation, nobody wanted to be famous. But most people now have sort of a main character thing, and they have their social media following, and they're kind of terminally online trying to grow their following all the time. So everyone's kind of become an LLC in themselves. So somebody with a higher market value on their name, because everyone's a brand, complaining about it, to them feels like a sore winner.
But what's the what is bad about it? Is the anonymity?
Extremely insincere relationships, very conditional relationships, and a lot of people think, oh, that's just because you're in LA and this place is full of social climbers. If anything, people act more normal to me here because they're used to seeing people that are levels above me in fame, such as like Post Malone or Billie Eilish or something.
Yeah.
For me, if I am in Pittsburgh, and I love Pittsburgh.
You're the Post Malone in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Basically.
So, I mean, I just kind of wish that I would have not tried to become famous so bad or tried to succeed so bad, and would have set myself up for a more sustainable growth model.
Who resents who?
Friends are more likely to resent you if they're day ones. The best kind of friends, I call them day twos. People who didn't know you on the playground, didn't know you in high school when you had braces and you guys were going to house parties.
Your second wife.
Yeah, exactly. People who met you after you already succeeded, who know you as a successful person and respect you for in that regard. Because they won't resent you or feel like it should be them. Workaholism has paid off.
Yeah, and it often does.
Mm-hmm. But it's taken a toll on the people around me. And the problem is, I work so hard that I forget that I can't treat people like I treat myself. They've got lives, they've got interests, and at the end of the day, they're not me. So they're not seeing as much of the benefit in terms of like people recognizing you from the work.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the worst controversy.
Yeah, it was just a bad situation. You know, after the HBO film.
So you make an HBO film called
This Place Rules.
Right. Which they aired a little?
They aired it. It's still there.
Okay.
They just halted promotion for it.
Got it. Okay. And why did they halt promotion?
Just a whole bunch of cancel shit.
It was I remember it was girls and Twitter or girls and DMs.
Sounds about right. But I wasn't on some like super weird shit.
It was just like, let's meet up.
No, dude, it was. I'll get into it more at some point in a more distinguished manner.
I got you.
But yeah, I was.
No offense taken.
It still destroyed my life at the time. Well, it's kind of sad because like the group that was attempting to like bait me into a big like civil cash payout around the controversy, which I'll talk about maybe in a book or something.
At a later date, yeah.
They in text messages and stuff, they were like, we want a piece of your fat HBO check. So like that group believed that HBO was giving me like millions of dollars
automatically
because and the publicist at HBO assigned me. Boy, were they bad.
Great.
Fuck.
Yeah, because
crisis PR. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude.
I can't wait to write this goddamn book, man.
Yeah, because by the way, you could go direct to consumer with that. I'm sure you won't because you'll get the advance and do all that. But like,
it was crazy. After the controversy, they were like, "All right, we're gonna make a statement on your behalf, man. Seriously, gonna turn the tides on this whole scandal." And this friend that said, "Andrew Callaghan is devastated." I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys?"
Did you read it before they released it?
No. I mean, I was like, "What?" And they were like,
"They did release that, right?"
Yes,
I remember reading it and being like,
sent it to like NBC, and they were like, "You've expressed remorse." Man, there's just so much I want to say because, oh man, I can't wait to be.
The problem is, so many people have gotten canceled for sexual stuff and they all say, "There's so much I want to say, I can't yet." But I know why you're not, but like,
I'm going to. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they all say that too, but.
Yeah, so they cover some pretty wide territory in this interview, and it is interesting. I'm not really sure. I haven't done a temperature check on how people feel about Andrew Callaghan at this point. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of buzz. You know, there's not that usual sort of voice that's saying like, "Oh, we can't re-accept this guy." So I think there's a little bit more acceptance for Andrew Callaghan back into media culture and even like sort of left-wing circles. Than a lot of people, maybe because he apologized and he went away for a little bit, not that long, but long enough to go to AA, I guess. And he just came back and got back to doing honest work. And so I think there's a couple things on display there. First of all, it's like he showed a little bit of honest contrition at the time, and I think that helped people. Even though people didn't necessarily accept his apology at the time, I think it helped people not feel so spiteful about him when he came back. And also, I think it's just he has an enormously effective platform and he reaches a lot of people. So there's not a lot that you can do to stop somebody from doing that if they have the ability to. And so it's a good thing that he didn't feel like that he's a discerning and empathetic enough person to not suddenly decide that he wants to turn to the right because he knows that there's more job security for a so-called canceled person in that realm. And instead, he just got back to doing what he's good at, what he was already doing. And so to me, I think that's the most important thing. And, you know, I'm interested in what happened more so behind the scenes. And he keeps hinting that there's more about it and that there was some group that, you know, was trying to extort him or whatever. But he hasn't given any details about it. So there's just really not that much to say about that at this point. But I thought it was interesting how he's talking about his friends and how he, you know, wanted to work with his friends and employ his friends, and that became kind of a struggle because of the resentments that happened. And he says that he thought bringing people on tour with him would make the resentment better, but it actually made it worse. Because he mentions at a certain point in the interview that there's a disparity in the money, right? Because if you hire somebody for a job and they feel like they're part of the legacy of what you're doing, they're sort of an unrecognized, you know, piece of this product that's coming out, you know, it doesn't matter how much you pay them, according to Andrew. That disparity is always going to be something that they clock as unfair. But there's something, he has a little bit more of a capitalistic thought process than I would have thought. Another thing that comes off a lot in this interview is him talking about how competitive he is. And he has this workaholic nature. And so that's what motivates him to do the work the way he does, be as consistent as he is, go as hard as he does. And not only does he have to remind himself not to like treat others poorly because he expects that of them. And so he talks about how a lot of what motivates him on a day-to-day basis, and honestly probably motivated him to hit the ground running after he got canceled, is that, you know, he feels like somebody else is going to beat him to the punch. And so he has to do it. He has to get the documentary out. He has to get the video out because if he doesn't work like that, somebody else is going to take his place. So that's an interesting mindset. First of all, that's the average capitalist mindset, or anybody who has an interest in existing in that world. There's truth to it in the sense of the market, that it's like if you're doing something that the market demands and then you stop doing it, the market's not going to stop demanding it, so that means somebody else is going to fill that space. What I've noticed in media, though, there is a singularity to certain personalities or certain kinds of content. Like an example would be Jon Stewart. So when Jon Stewart left The Daily Show, you know, the assumption is that media is changing, something else will come up that will fill the space, my time is done, whatever. And a lot of other voices did come up and sort of fill up the space. A lot of people have sprouted up in Jon Stewart's image and his absence. But what has not happened is anybody actually replacing him. Even on that show, they couldn't find a replacement that really satisfied the same market need that Jon Stewart did. I guess Trevor Noah held the job down for a long time and had a certain audience, but it never had the type of cultural relevance and bite that Jon Stewart did. And then when he came back, it regained a little bit of that bite and became more relevant than it ever was before he left. So that's not even a testament to like Jon Stewart's singular talent, or the other people that they were rotating in to replace him at The Daily Show weren't as talented as he is. But it's just that the popularity surrounding him and the success of that vehicle was very much connected to him and what he brings to the table. So I don't know, that's kind of a half-baked thought, but I guess just trying to take myself through that mindset of like somebody being kind of banished from the public culture. And it seems like Andrew Callaghan mostly did it right, you know. He seems like he still carries some resentment, and he's still hinting that there was something more going on behind the scenes, but he won't really tell us. So I feel like if he's gonna do that, he should just get on with it and just like say what he has to say. This whole thing, you know, Neal's right at the end to point out that like they all say that, oh, I just gotta wait till the time's right. The time's probably not gonna be right, because it's tough. By saying something about it, you're going to be putting yourself back in the spotlight. People are going to be talking about that again. None of that is something that he necessarily wants. But you're not doing yourself any favors by just like hinting at it and being kind of mysterious. If you have something to say, just say it. Probably putting out a book about it is not the best idea. If that's what you want to do, like I said, I would say get on with it. And so the only other thing that I think I was able to glean from this is when he talks about sustainability. So he says a regret of his is that, you know, all of the fame and all of the explosion of it all, how popular it all got, it led to burnout, the crash outs, you know, him like being caught in all of these controversies, legal battles, all kinds of things. And he sort of deprived himself of like a normal person's 20s, you know what I mean? Growing up like a normal person. And so he said that he wishes that he focused less on fame and, you know, being successful and more on building a sustainable model. And that is something really important that I have been harping on this platform, that anybody who's trying to contribute to like the left-wing cause, independent media cause, trying to be an answer to the reactionary media that is mainstream at this point, that's got to be the focus, is sustainability. And virality is nice. Being able to reach millions and millions of people is nice. But if you're chasing that, you're going to be stretching yourself very thin, and you're going to be chasing the whims of a marketing machine and algorithms that definitely are not taking your health into account. But if you build something a little bit slower and focus on something that the demand for it is real consistent and your ability to deliver that is also consistent, that's how I think we can build vehicles that are actually effective in challenging capital. And like this whole model of like hiring your friends and the struggle of the disbalance. I mean, that's essentially the challenge of capitalism, is that it's not equal. And that when you have a laborer, in order for your business to be profitable, you have to take more money than that laborer is producing in value. You have to take some of the value that laborer creates. And so for me, I think about that, and that makes me not want to hire anybody. You know, I don't want people to work for me for that reason, because it introduces the problem that all of a sudden I have an interest in paying that person as little as I can get away with, as little as they will agree with, so that I can keep as much of the profit as possible. And so I've been thinking a lot about like, what are alternative ways of building something that don't fall into that problem as much. Not only is it more profitable for you to build something that way, but it also works better. It's harder to build a co-op. It's harder to build something that's mutually, collectively owned when everything that you're competing with is moving faster than that. And so that gets back to this issue of someone like Andrew Callaghan excels in the media space because of the work ethic that he puts in and because of how singular his project is. And that a lot of the work that's going into it is his own work. And I can personally attest to the fact that that is good for a business model. It helps. It helps me deliver content every day. The fact I'm doing all of this myself. So how then do you introduce additional labor and scale that even a little bit, so that you have something that's equitable, more equitable than your average, you know, capitalistic workplace, but also able to compete with the corporate conglomerates that freely exploit labor? I don't know. It's a challenging thing to do, but I'm working on it. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. All right, so real quick, just to get to a couple things that are in the news regarding Trump that I think are important. So Ghislaine Maxwell has, they've released the transcripts with the DOJ where she essentially clears Trump like we all knew she would do. She cleared Trump and Prince Andrew. She apparently didn't say anything about anybody doing anything wrong to the DOJ. So I don't know what good that does anybody, or if there's some reason that benefits her. I mean, it makes sense that she would let Trump off the hook. I would have thought that she would accuse a bunch of people who aren't Trump just to make Trump look less guilty for his name not being there. Saying nobody did anything wrong doesn't really strike me as a strong argument. She also gave them something about how she helped start the Clinton Global Foundation or Clinton Global Initiative. So Fox News is reporting on it that way. So as expected, this is essentially a media drop. She did this to give the press different little blurbs to put out there about how Trump didn't do anything wrong, and there, you know, I never saw him anywhere near a massage room is pretty much what she said. So just complete utter bullshit. The cover up is pretty complete at this point. The cover up has happened. So that doesn't mean we have to stop talking about it. And it actually means that we need to continue talking about it. And if you find yourself talking to anybody who likes Trump or tepidly likes Trump or tepidly likes one of his policies, you got to throw this in their face, because this is a cover-up. Donald Trump is definitely associated with the most notorious pedophile of all time, and they covered it up right in front of everybody. And Trump's supporters let it happen. So don't let them forget that. And also, Trump has announced that the U.S. is going to be taking a 10% stake in Intel as a way to try to compete with China. This company has not necessarily held up well competitively against other companies like Nvidia and AMD, which Trump has also announced some kind of deals with. So this is fascinating. I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is a good thing. The fact that no president has really done this other than Obama after the 2008 crisis, there was a little bit of a stake that America held in certain companies due to the bailouts. But, you know, the U.S. just taking a stake in one of its companies indefinitely is not something that's happened before. And this is great. This is good. This is what we should do across many industries, especially the oil and gas industry. Definitely anything that is essential for human life. The U.S. government should own a stake in it. Essentially what that means is that we all own a stake in it. So what is not clear here is how that's going to work. They've said there's not going to be anybody on the board of directors representing the U.S. and that the U.S. has essentially agreed to vote with the current board of directors with limited exceptions. So that's carrying a lot of weight there with limited exceptions. Who knows what the hell that means? Obviously under Trump, that just means that whatever Trump says goes. Anytime he feels like exerting pressure over that company, he's going to do it. But by and large, this is a good thing. And in theory, you know, the U.S. government, the people owning a stake in a company would mean that there's some even more broadened process of democracy that goes into that board decision making, which is exactly why companies do not want any part of their company to be publicly owned. So we need more deals like this. And this is another thing that you can throw in the face of people who support Trump. All you got to do is ask them about this. Do you support the U.S. taking a 10% stake in Intel? And don't say the U.S., say Trump. Because if they say yes, this is literally socialism. Like, exactly. And the way Trump is exerting this pressure and forcing companies to do this is honestly more like of the authoritarian flavor. So this is everything that they've ever said that they're against. This is the public ownership of private businesses. This is a good thing. And I don't care what president does it. We need more of this. This is what the radical left is saying needs to happen. This is what it is. Whether it's healthcare companies, insurance companies, more public ownership is what the left wants. And this is certainly more radically left than anything proposed by Zoran Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders. So this is he's just handing a talking point to his harshest critics. I think the Democrats and anybody who's sort of on the liberal center is gonna whiff on this. But, this is an opportunity to say, this is socialism and this is good. And if you're glad Trump did this, then you like socialism.